Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, Turner H, Overland Travel, Dan K, Richard G, and B Wolf. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. So today will be a quick episode. It's actually Ashley's birthday. Some of you that have been here for a long time will remember we used to do videos together, so show her some love down in the comments. I'm sure she'll be appreciative. She watches most of my videos.
Great. Well, Brian, thank you. And Mr. President, thank you as well. I today am at one of our manufacturing
By the way, we owe you big. You started all this. I remember our conversation. No, I'm serious. I am serious.
Well, we're working hard, and I'm actually at one of our manufacturing facilities in Ohio today.
This was a note from Simon Moores from Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, the firm that is definitely leading the way when it comes to understanding the global mining and refining space. Talking about the sourcing requirements for the possible new EV tax credits, more on that later. This means US EV makers have under 3 years to wean themselves off lithium, cobalt, graphite, nickel, manganese that don't pass through China. Considering the rocketing demand and EV plans, this is basically an impossible task, a theme we've been talking about for the past week. We've talked multiple times about China's dominance in this area, and he said it suggested that the free trade agreement countries can fill the gap, but it's not a big list. Australia and Chile are the standouts. But part of the problem is that nearly all future critical mineral supply out to 2024 is already locked up. I saw this tweet and just had to share it. ESG investing in a nutshell. The first CPCA estimate for Tesla Shanghai sales for July came out, coming in around 30,000 wholesale units, both retail and export. Remember, the factory was shut down for upgrades for about half of the month, so this is pretty much in line with what most were expecting. Upgrades at the plant are expected to be done on August 7th, and at that point, remember the total daily production for both Model Y and Model 3 combined should be in the neighborhood of around 3,100. So if you do the math and allow for about 2 weeks of downtime throughout the year, that would be a production rate of around 1.085 million units per year. Remember, the Model Y upgrades are done and presumably back in production to some degree, and it's the Model 3 that's currently being upgraded, which is set to be done over the next few days. And don't forget what Elon said yesterday. He thinks too many people get laser focused on even quarterly results, so how much more so for monthly results? Don't be distracted by the noise and get too lasered in. Always zoom out, focus on the bigger picture and the general trends. Things like the Model Y becoming the best-selling vehicle by revenue this year and by units next year. Tesla eventually producing 20 million units per year over the next 10 years. Or yes, 8 years if they actually hit that goal in 2030. So just zoom out. Of course, I had to show you the Tesla pool in Germany has got a few upgrades. What about now? Is it growing on anyone? I mean, check it out. What do you think? Not a terrible hangout spot for 20 or 30 minutes on a nice day. A Reddit user from the shareholder meeting was uploading some of these images of the Cybertruck, saying he talked to Tesla employees and that this was now a version 2 of the Cybertruck that was 5% smaller. However, certain things like the light bar on the top, along with the fact that this one does indeed still have door handles and no windshield wiper, no side mirrors, leads me to believe this is definitely not the final production version. Now, for what it's worth, Elon did say previously that long term it might make sense to make a smaller Cybertruck, but at least initially in North America, I don't think we're going to see a smaller version of the Cybertruck. But for whatever it may be worth, just to let you guys know, that's what this one Reddit user was saying after he talked to that Tesla employee that apparently works with the truck. You've probably seen it by now, but in case you missed it, Lucid had a terrible second quarter, delivering only 679 vehicles, posting revenues below expectations, and cut its production forecast yet again down to 6,000 to 7,000 from 12,000 to 14,000 previously. And if you didn't see Elon's tweet about this saying, I had more kids in quarter 2 than they made cars. Do not forget what Peter Rawlinson said about Tesla back in 2020. Tesla seems to be the only car company that experiences production hell. Well, that is clearly now not true just 2 years later. Many companies now in this position, including Lucid. Elon made an appearance on the Full Send podcast. It was about 3 hours long. You're not going to learn too much new information about Tesla or anything like that. However, this is actually really important because the Full Send podcast is some of the guys that are actually creators of the YouTube channel Nelk. Long story short, over the last 6 to 12 months, these guys have basically taken the mainstream culture by storm. They're, showing videos with Trump and Joe Rogan, Dana White, huge names, and now obviously Elon Musk. But this is an interview that I think will be awesome for people who don't really know much about Elon. They're outside of the Tesla SpaceX community, so it's going to paint him in a really good light. He was relaxed, he was laughing a lot, he was joking, and it seemed like he had a genuinely good time. And I think now millions of people that may have not been exposed to Elon or Tesla before now will see him in a different light, maybe even more positively, and could in the future be more apt to buy a Tesla product. A friend of mine called the Nelk Boys in the Full Send podcast clout goblins, so you may not be able to relate to any of that. The point is they have huge influence over the demographic between, 15 to 35 years old, many males that in the future could become future Tesla owners. And of course, as always, if you have the time, it's fun to listen to Elon talk and interact and just try to get inside of his head. But like I said, if you follow him closely, you probably won't learn too much new from this interview, but it'll be linked below. There was some reporting that Elon was going to build a new private airport in the center of Texas, but he pretty immediately shot that down, saying not true. Tesla is 5 minutes from the Austin International Airport. Would be silly to build another private one. However, the existing commercial airport needs another runway as Austin is growing fast. Many people were referencing this chart over the last 2 days, Model 3 versus Mach-E production ramps. The red bars are Tesla, the blue bars are the Mach-E. The problem is the red bars for Tesla is when its Model 3 production started Q4 2017, pre-pandemic. Then the Mach-E started Q3 of 2020. So I like the idea of trying to compare the initial quarters of vehicle production for these two. However, it's really a terrible comparison when you consider the external factors, specifically COVID. Now, of course, I'm not arguing if the Mach-E started production Q4 17, well removed before COVID, that it would be online with the Model 3. I'm just saying this isn't a great comparison for that reason alone. This was a pretty cool one. Tesla applies for a new patent for a precise GPS antenna for self-driving and navigation. This would be a multi-band antenna system that can be embedded within a glass exterior surface of a vehicle. The antenna structure itself can be used as a heater to improve performance in adverse weather conditions. Here are some images from the patent. So as you can see, it could be right above the rear view mirror. And if you scroll up, it seems to be a circular type of device that once again can be embedded into the glass. Tesla is saying the design can produce a more precise antenna while reducing power demand, noise, and cost. Signals received from a GNSS antenna can be combined with data from other sensors like ultrasonics or cameras to plan a route to take a vehicle to a target location. Not only that, but for other features like navigation, autopilot, and other self-driving features, searching for nearby gas stations, restaurants, or businesses. Of course, we know Tesla has many patents that may never see the light of production. However, this feels like one, and this is just my speculation, that we could actually see in real-world production in the next few years. So today, there has been so much confusion around what's going on with this new EV tax credit legislation and the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Honestly, I think much of the confusion had started with this tweet thread from Nelson on Twitter, basically talking about some changes to the EV tax credits, like the $4,500 for the union being back in it, the battery size for hybrids being a little bit bigger, along with some other changes. But before we get too carried away, let's not forget this. What we do know for sure is that Sinema, the last Democrat who was not really on board with this new Inflation Reduction Act, now has changed her stance. She's on board because of some changes with certain tax loopholes, specifically that impact hedge fund managers, but we don't need to get into the detail for today's video. Here's what we do need to know. There will be a series of votes this weekend for these potential changes to the EV tax credits and the bill at large. This measure does need unanimous support of the Democrats to move forward in the 50-50 Senate, so the Democrats can't afford even one defection. This package still must clear a series of hurdles before the Senate can pass it. Democrats do plan to use budget reconciliation. That means it must be blessed by the Senate parliamentarian. So this process is ongoing as of today, and it could result in further changes to the measure if certain pieces are deemed out of order. But most importantly, Republicans will have an opportunity this weekend to try to force changes before final passage of the legislation during a marathon series of amendment votes known as a vote-a-rama. So the point is, this entire package is still subject to change over this weekend. Now, this is the document that Nelson was referring to where these changes are coming from, and it had dates of August 2nd and August 3rd. So for now, I would not read into this tweet thread by Nelson or any of the other sources that have picked up this information. I've also talked to some sources who have said that the union credit, $4,500, is definitely not back on the table. And further, Nelson was talking about Tesla not being able to apply these credits immediately because they wouldn't be treated as a dealer. But the way I read the actual documentation was that Tesla would be treated like a dealer, and thus they could do those immediate credits. So my point here is, let's just wait until we get something official before we start getting all crazy. Remember, the rest of the day today and tomorrow, there's going to be plenty of back and forth and some voting to be held. So next week, hopefully we get a little bit more clarity and we can get more into the details at that point. Don't forget, do me a favor if you'd be so kind, wish Ashley a happy birthday below. That'll do it for today. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful and a safe weekend, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.